I like trichrome photography. If there's one thing I'm really good at in my life, it's taking up space, but if there's something I'm just okay at, it's trichrome photography. As a quick refresher, trichrome photography is when you shoot some black and white film with a red, green, and blue filter. Even though you'll end up with 3 black and white images, each of them will actually contain color information. As an example, this was shot with a red filter. Anything in the highlights represent a lot of reds, and anything in the shadows represents not a lot of red. So if you combine the shots from the red, green, and blue filters together, you'll get a color image. Anyway, that's all to say, I really enjoy doing this, and I really love it when other people discover this process. But one of the biggest deterrents of trying this is acquiring the filters, and more specifically, the cost of the filters. Over the years, people have asked me if there's a cheaper way. Do you actually need these specific trichrome filters, or can you get away with a cheaper alternative? Well, there's only one way to find out. I found these cheap no-name square filters online. If you compare them to the proper trichrome filters, the reds look pretty similar, same with the greens. The blue, not so much, but these are red, green, and blue filters. I mean, how bad could they be? This was shot with the proper filters. This is with the cheap square filters. All the other colors are more muted and desaturated, so that's interesting. But what's more interesting though is that the cheap filter bundle came with a bunch of other random filters I'll probably never use. I was mainly interested in just the red, green, and blue filters. And then I saw these. These are red, green, and blue graduated filters. And looking at these got my 2 brain cells to rub together. Let me paint you a picture of what I'm hoping to see. First, here's a regular trichrome. It looks like a normal color photo. Next, here's this trichrome. This was created by taking 3 shots back to back to back without any filters. And if you combine them like a regular trichrome, you don't get a whole lot. It's basically just a black and white photo, but you still get the color fringing, also known as the Harris shutter effect. This happens when there's any movement between the channels. And as an interesting side note, if you zoom in, you could actually see that this seemingly black and white photo is actually made up of colorful grain. Now, with the grad filter, my expectation is that one half of the frame will be in full color, while the other half is in black and white. So how'd it turn out? Yeah, it looks like expired film. Here's what I think is going on. These grad filters are a little too grad. The whole point of a grad filter is that there will be a smooth transition, which kind of goes against what I was hoping to achieve. In order to achieve that look, I decided that I was going to take the regular square filter and just cover half the frame like this. This isn't what I was hoping for, nor would I call this a good result, but I think conceptually this could work. I just think in this particular example, this is just more of what we would call a skill issue. But that's it for the square filters. But while we're here, I wonder what else could I use? These are cheap flash filtered gels. These are meant to cover a speed light to make funky flash colors, not to put in front of a lens to shoot through. One of the big issues is that these aren't optical quality gels, and because of that, it creates this pronounced bloom. Surprisingly, when it's trichromed, it's tamed down quite a bit, but it's still there in this kind of ethereal glow, which kind of looks cool. And more shockingly, the colors are surprisingly alright. And finally, here are some miscellaneous Nikon filters I had lying around. This is an 056 orange filter, this is an X1 green filter, and this is a B12 blue cooling filter. This is what I call the "we have trichrome filters at home" kit. And here they are compared to the actual trichrome filters. These are close enough if you don't care about color accuracy, consistency, or doing things the proper way. But what about the results? Looks alright. Colors are muted, there's definitely some color shifting, but if I didn't have anything to compare it to, I'd say it's fine in a pinch. Now, shooting a test chart is one thing, but how do these actually handle in the wild? First, here are the normal trichromes. Looks alright. And here they are compared to the square filters. Here are the grad filters. It's not great. but it exists. Here's when I tried to put the square filter halfway across the lens. Again, I think this could work. I just need to not screw it up. Like this attempt, I wish I could have centered it up a little bit better, but you could see the effect I was going for. I'm not really sure how this would be useful in any way, since you could achieve this look with like 2 seconds of work in Photoshop, but here it is. Here are the gels. It does give the image a bit of a dreamy look, and the colors aren't that bad. Here are the random Nikon filters. Honestly, not the worst. There's definitely a loss in saturation in some of the greens and some other parts, but again, if I wasn't comparing it to anything else, like, it's passable. And here's some of the filterless trichromes. So what's the conclusion? The trichrome filters gave the most consistent results. As a disclaimer, all the trichrome filter shots were presented with no additional editing, whereas all the other filter shots had some massaging done to them to give them the best chance. But I think this is something to consider. If you're willing to sacrifice some color accuracy and willing to put in the time to dial in the edit, these cheaper alternatives can be somewhat viable. Or maybe you just want to mess around with the process. These cheap filters are a good first step. Maybe you find out that you don't like this process, then you get to save yourself some money. As long as you know what you're getting yourself into, temper your expectations accordingly and have fun. And remember, if it's red, green, and blue and it's transparent, trichrome it.